raise your right hand.
I, Ledgerhood Rennie, Director General Designate Liberia Broadcasting System.
I, Samuel Rose, Assistant Minister of Information Services, Designate.
A bona fide citizen of the Republic of Liberia.
A bona fide citizen of the Republic of Liberia.
I swear.
Do hereby swear.
And the testimony which I am about to give this afternoon.
The testimony which I am about to give this afternoon.
And my recollections.
And my recollections.
Is the truth.
Is the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
And nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God. Yep.
Honorable, your nominees are not qualified to sit for the hearing, sir.
So 54 of the Constitution, the President has the appointing authority and we are to consent. So we want to take this time to ask the nominee designate from the Liberia Broadcasting System, Honorable Ledgerhood Rennie Sr., to convince this committee, the Senate Committee on Information and Broadcasting, why he's suitable to be the Director General of the Liberia Broadcasting System. In your testimony, we will appreciate your suitability, your level of education, and your experience that will convince the committee. You can now take the stand and give us your testimony or information.
Like members of this August Committee on Information and Broadcasting at the Liberian Senate. As most of you already know, my name is Ledgerhood Rennie. I'm a Liberian. I'm a son of the veteran broadcaster Ashley Rennie and a teacher, the veteran teacher, the first Liberian female to graduate from the University of Liberia, magna cum laude in physics and mathematics, Vivian Monalu, veteran educator and teacher. Let me say, this year and about this time makes me 25 years since I began working in the media in Liberia. So I've come a long way working from a cub reporter to now a senior media practitioner and executive in our country. I've worked for so many media organizations here and across the world, from the Catholic Church as a cub reporter from ELCN to Radio Veritas, rising to the rank and file to become the news editor, senior reporter, program director, on-to station manager. My work is so visible that, you know, perhaps I don't need to talk about it more. Perhaps the people in the public and perhaps some of you members of the committee can bear testimony to the quality of my experience and work that I've done in the Liberian media so far. I've also come a long way working with international organizations, serving as a reporter for BBC for 14 years in Liberia, covering the Liberian Civil War, crisscrossing the whole school of the Liberian political and social spectrum. I've also did some work for the CNN as well as the VOA and also Al Jazeera. I've had experiences working in London with some local, what they call what they call the independent radio in Northampton and also in Nottingham. So I've come a long way working in the media in Liberia. When I returned home in 2009 from graduate school in England, I was asked by Her Excellency to serve as the Deputy Director General for Broadcasting at the Liberia Broadcasting System. Having worked so diligently in 4.5 years, she thought it was important to elevate me to serve as Director General in 2015, the post I held till the expiration of the tenure of Her Excellency the President of Liberia. Today I've been renominated by His Excellency Ambassador Sir George Weah to serve my country, to continue the work that I've done in public service for the people of Liberia, serving as Director General and continuing at the Liberia Broadcasting System. Since I've been there at the helm of the institution, we've done a lot in terms of improving not just the media quality and content of the entity, but also the infrastructural and technical outlay of the institution. It has been challenging though. We didn't get the kinds of support we thought we would get. But as a professional and as an experienced person, we managed with the legal resources we had available to us to continue to keep the national broadcaster afloat. Today, when Liberians go into the compound, they are proud to see that the dilapidated structure that sort of reminded them of the colossal damage this country has gone through as a result of our civil war is no longer there. We've been able, with at least a legal resource of $200,000, to renovate the building to an appreciable level that Liberians can now be proud of. We want to continue that transformation while we are there, making sure that Liberians can understand and get to know that public information dissemination is as important as any facet in our country, because it helps in the overall development of not just the national psyche of our country, but also prepares a nation in terms of security, in terms of rallying people for peace and social cohesion. So I think, given the responsibility with your endorsement as members of this August committee, I'll be able to carry on the task assigned me by His Excellency Ambassador George Ware to continue the good work that I have begun already at the Liberia Broadcasting System. I'd like to stop here for now and perhaps open myself up for public scrutiny. Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Director Designate. We now move on to the witness from the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism, Assistant Minister Designate Samuel Woolsey, to convince this committee, by extension, the Liberian Senate, why you are best suited to serve in its capacity.
Committee, my name is Samuel Woolsey, Assistant Minister for Information Services, Designate, Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs and Tourism. I'm the son of project manager who worked with the LCADB for many years, and my mother served by the Liberian Immigration Service for about 16 years. I studied economics and mathematics, and undergraduate level, accounting and management, and finance at graduate level. I hold a diploma in journalism and certificate in project management, in monitoring and evaluation, and in other fields as well. I've worked in government for about 13 years. I started as a reporter at ELBC, at the State Broadcast House, where my own good friend has been appointed as the Director General. And I also served in sundry positions at the National Public Authority, and procurement manager, IT controller at the NTA, financial consultant at NASCO, and head of the project implementation unit at Rabat International Airport briefly, and African and Norway serving in several positions of trust in government. Concerning my appointment as Assistant Minister Designate for Information Services, work as strategist for institutions, more energy, corporate strategy, and I also serve as the chairman of the Joint Coalition Committee on Personal Propaganda. In line with the mandate of the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism, I believe well suited to serve as the Assistant Minister for Information Services on grounds that I've managed propaganda portfolio for some time now, and the records are there. And I've proven history of being able to counter unfavorable propaganda as part of my job in keeping with the mandate of the Ministry of Information, Department of Public Affairs. we are on a mandate to counter unfavorable propaganda against the government, to also disseminate information through wide-range media that are factual to our people. So I'd like to stop here and the people start to public scrutiny as we go down. Thank you.
Senators, you've heard the witnesses. Okay, we start from Senator Zako of Lofa County.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nominee, congratulations for your preferred member of the President. I hope you be well convinced us so that we do likewise on this side. And not only will we have the kind of situation, we look at four qualities: education, experience, training, and suitability. Looking at all of those qualities, I think reading your CV, you have it as it relates to this position you prefer to. I'm thinking that you come this far and will be renominated by the kind of work you did at IBS. But you will have a huge responsibility at Director of IBS, especially when you be managing the government mouthpiece or the government media institution, especially at a time where you have a pro-poor internal government. And then there will come a time in my thinking when those huge expectations are not met, you have a barrage of criticism. Then the media outlet, the government media outlet will have to be used as a medium to which people with dissenting opinion want to use that institution. How will you be able to balance it considering if the expectations are not met, and this group of people who have a huge expectation, they want to use that same institution to vent all their anger and criticism against the government? Question number one. Number two. Number two, I want to solicit your objectivity and balance. And let me take it back to a few weeks to the runoff election. A senator, I think it might have been Senator Dan Mariah of Rowan County, I called on the radio station. And then I think another senator might have called. There was a debate. And then you came in. And then the way you came in, I took note of it. You came in an outburst manner. You want to say, hey, people don't think, no, let's do the thing, man. Oh, you're thinking you're no all on no in this country. I remember those comments. You came in, the answer might have been ignored because of the interaction, but a senator spoke, and another senator, I think the first senator spoke might have been Senator Dan Mariah. I remember. And then another senator came in to disagree with Senator Dan Mariah, and it didn't go down for you. There was an outburst from you on the radio, and I took note of it. In my thinking, I don't think it was a good thing. Can you recall? If you can recall, what will be your comment? Those are my two questions.
Thank you very much, Senator, for your comments, your questions. The second, let me answer the second one. Yes, I do recall vividly what you said. Again, in a public debate where things are, where there's a cross-pollination of ideas and expression, obviously sometimes people do flare, and I do understand that. I was listening to the radio that morning, and I too, regardless of the fact that I'm a public servant, sometimes too want to weigh in on some of these issues. So I did come in and I did make my view clear. One of the things we must understand, and I always say, we may not agree to everything that we always say, but we all must be tolerant of each other's expression. I sure you know as well as I do, I didn't insult any of the senators. The thing was that I just made my views clear, that I thought there was too much filibustering about the issue, and this country needed to move on. And to date, I'm on the record, I still stand by that. I didn't insult the senators, those are my views. And whether it was an outburst, those are your words, Honorable Senator, I can't take it from you, but under the circumstance, I do recall the situation, and if it happened again, perhaps on hindsight, I wouldn't do so. Thank you.
First question.
The first question, it borders on the issue of equal access. The national radio station is for all Liberians, regardless of views expressed. Our country has come a long way. We all know the insidious use of the media in the early 80s that led to where we all have had the civil war. People want to participate in the governance of their country. They want to use the mass media to let their voices and their concerns be heard. It would be foolhardy on my part or anybody at LBS to deny anybody access regardless of views expressed. All we do say, and we continue to say, is that be respectful of other people's character and their name and family. When you come on the national radio and you have a dissenting view, you can express that view without disparaging people's character. The national radio, or any media for that matter, I'm a media professional, should not be used for that. If you did that, you'll be overstepping your bound. And we as gatekeepers have a responsibility to ensure that what we set out to the public is nothing but the truth, void of character assassination. So all of a sudden I said, yes, while it is true that we'll be promoting the pro agenda of the government, and there will be dissenting opinion about the kinds of policies and the actions taken, it is only fair enough that as a national broadcaster, we allow policymakers to hear the dissenting views of the people so that they too be in a position to address those views. So I don't think, I've been there for 7 years and I'm on record, nobody has ever called me one day to ask me, why is it you're carrying this story about a dissenting view against what government has proposed? Sometimes the political leaders like us who are called upon to serve in these capacities overstep our bound to do these things. But as you heard in the president's annual message, I mean not in the annual message, but in the inauguration message, that he will allow for the expression of views regardless, in a public space regardless of what those views are. And it is only our mandate to continue to promote such. Thank you.
Mr. DG and Assistant Minister, you have a social responsibility. This government is very young. And I know our profession says you have to protect and promote. And who are you protecting? It's your own Liberian and your government. So that I strongly believe that people who are fully knowledgeable of what they know, what they want, and what they want to see with their government that they are working for. And so I have this strong belief that you all will work in the interest of the government and any Liberian people. And so that I don't think I'll have a question to ask you, because I trust your ability of taking on the assignment that were giving you all by the government, because they know your responsibility, they know that you can protect this government and Liberian people. So I wish you all God blessing, and do the best that you can do, because this country belongs to all of us. We cannot tear it apart. And you know that information can cause problem, can cause war. So as veteran, I have no cause to give you question, but to urge you to do your best. In Jesus' name. Thank you.
Pastor.
Thank you, Honorable Senator, for the strong statement of support from me and my crew. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman members. Nominees, let me join my colleagues to thank you, congratulate you on your preferment, and for the confidence reposed in you by the Chief Executive. I know you have a wide experience on the field, and like my colleague said, you can do the job. And nevertheless, I want to know, you've been at the state-owned radio station for a while. I want to know some of the major challenges that you face, and what plans do you have to combat these challenges? That's my first question. And my second question would be, you have done your best to decentralize this station. You have correspondents across the country, and that program is very rewarding. I must appreciate you for that as well. But what plans do you have in mind? You will say, yes, I've been there for this time, but now that I'm maintaining the position, because of the confidence you pose in me, I have these plans. In a nutshell, in summary, what are your specifics? Let me just go to the Assistant Minister. You are at the Ministry of Culture and Tourism, Information Tourism. We have plans to detach tourism from the Ministry of Information and Culture. What is your take on that bill shall have surfaced and maybe passed? And then the same question comes to you. The new position, I don't know what you're doing there too, or the new position you are taking, what specifics, what do you think, what do you hope to achieve to really please your boss, that is the appointing power?
Yeah, you can. I think we'll begin with the Assistant Minister President, then we'll end with the Director General President.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, I send my profound thanks to His Excellency President George Weah for my nomination as Assistant Minister for Information Services, the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism.
Excuse me, sir, please.
Yeah.
If you don't have eyes problem, I will want to see you play, please. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. As part of the fundamental mandate of the Ministry of Information, the ministry is on a statutory mandate to disseminate factual information across the nation and to all of our foreign service outlets, the embassies and so forth. And the issue of tourism is very important. It has political and economic implications. I will support the bill tended to detach the tourism bill from the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism. I strongly believe it will enhance revenue generation from the economic perspective, and I also think it will also help to strengthen our capacity as an institution, and it will bring in a lot of multilateral investors who may desire to at least invest in tourism in our country. We have a lot of historical artifacts in our country and historical sites. Liberia being the first black independent country, I believe there are a lot of people around the world who would like to come to Liberia to at least have an experience. And coming to Liberia will help to at least create jobs for our people. That sector will also help to reduce poverty, and it will enhance this government pro-poor agenda. And on the last note, what you talk about, what will I do to satisfy my boss, that is the president? I will work as a professional. And my role as Assistant Minister for Information Services, as you are aware, is technically like a senior support staff. So as Assistant Minister, I don't have the authority to determine the institutional direction of the Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism. But as a professional person, I will do everything possible to be more effective and efficient within the professional parameters of quality, of ethics and so forth. So I will not want to work outside professionalism, do everything possible in the best interest of the country, considering what they on this call, the administrative holding me here on the tool of reciprocity. Thank you.
Follow up, please. Thank you. You don't want to work outside of your profession. What push, what programs you think you can bring at the ministry, especially to support the state-owned radio station?
Well, yeah, I'm grateful to have the Director General Designate here with me, and he is a professional person who I've got so much respect for. And I believe the relationship between our office and the Nigerian broadcasting system will definitely be cordial. We'll do everything possible to ensure effective nationwide outreach to our people and to manage, to ensure quality information service delivery. In an effort to have our people informed adequately and on time, and also minimize one-sided view. And I'm quite sure the management of LBS on his authority will definitely do that as best as possible. And I, as Assistant Minister of Designate, in my little capacity, will do everything possible with the consent of my bosses to strengthen our capacity and effort to ensure information dissemination, counteraction to unfavorable propaganda, in keeping with the core values of the Ministry of Information, Culture, Press and Tourism.
Let me try to work with it. Plans and challenges and plans. We could spend perhaps the next 5-6 hours here talking about challenges with respect to LBS. But let me put them in 3-4. The first one is infrastructural deficit. We're still hamstrung by the fact that that institution since 1990 have not had a windfall of finances to develop its infrastructure damage as a result of the war. I even need not lecture you about the challenges we have with our facilities across Liberia. Lufa County is a classic example, and you are quite aware of. Even trying to mediate to help us to keep that facility up and running. We also have a technical problem. The transmission and production systems that are now with LBS are about 12 years old. When these equipment were purchased, they were purchased around 2006. They have a lifespan, usually broadcast equipment have a lifespan of a decade. After a decade, you can't do nothing with it. In fact, the transmitter we're using now is no longer manufactured and is operating at a 50% capacity. So obviously it means that we have to change, and it means that's a challenge we have. We're going to work in the next 18 months with the executive and with your blessings to ensure that we change all of these things so that Liberian people can continue to have quality public information coming from the national broadcaster. Also concerning to us is the welfare of our employees. We've gone through thick and thin at LBS to ensure service delivery to the people of Liberia. It's about time something is done to improve their wages and salaries and their benefits. I'm going to be a spokesperson this time, joining the workers' union to advocate for improvement in the welfare of the workers of LBS, especially so in line with the pro-poor agenda of our government. And finally, we want to improve on the content, because that is a broadcast entity. We can build the fine buildings, we can put in all the nice equipment, but if the quality of the content isn't good, people will not listen. And that's where my expertise lies. So what we want to do in the next 18 months is to separate public service broadcasting from commercial broadcasting. Under the law, we have a mandate to do public service and at the same time commercial, as is done in all the world now. The best standards are to separate the two. Right now we have one channel, that's 99.9. Everybody wants access to that medium. It's not possible. On Sunday, if you listen to the radio from 2 o'clock straight to 12 o'clock, all you hear are the churches. And they keep coming, they keep coming. You can't deny them because it's a fundamental right. So what we want to do now is to open a metro. And they keep coming, you can't deny them because it's a fundamental right. So what we want to do now is to open a metro FM station, the 89.9 channel, that will cater to the commercial needs as enshrined in our law, and leave 99.9 to the public service broadcasting, increase airtime that will focus mainly on things like carrying
the legislative debates live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So you dedicate 3 hours. So a citizen in Lofa can listen to Senator Tingberg, propounding for his people. And also the citizen in Sino will do the same, and in Refugee. But to do that, we need your support, distinguished erudite senators. So I hope I can get your approbation when the budget comes around, when it's recast, so that we can have the council support needed. The innovation and creativity is there, especially with this young team that has been given today by His Excellency. They come with a lot of vigor, they come with a lot of energy, they come with a lot of ideas. All of these things I'm propounding were things that we talked about before we came to this hearing. And so I'm excited to working with them to ensure that we can improve the quality of the national broadcaster. Our focus now should be on television. Seeing is believing. With radio, we've gone about 85% penetration of our country. Last year, through the kind courtesy of some of you members here, and let me single out Senator Wisse, we managed to get funding to open up a substation in Sino. For the first time, using the Liberian government money, it's a 3 kilowatt FM transmitter. All across the country, the Chinese government gave us a 1 kilowatt transmitter, but from our government money, our Liberian people money, we have a 3 kilowatt FM transmitter that's covering Sino, Paso River G, and Grand Coup. So Maryland is up and running, Granger is up and running. If we can set up one in Nimba, which is a big population, will do us well. We'll be covering at least 90% of the country. And then television, if we can invest a little more to improve the television landscape so that people can see what's happening across the country, so that people can see what the government is doing. The expectation, as you talk about it, managing expectation, as we are supposed to do, will be much more easy. So that's our plans for the immediate 18 months, Senator. Thank you very much.
And we can assure you of our support, because I sit here and imagine your dream, how you want it to look like, to the best. The welfare of your staff, that brings my attention to the correspondence you have across the country. Do they receive compensation, or are they doing their pro bono services?
They do receive a little compensation. What we do give them, because salaries and compensations are perhaps personal things, I wouldn't want to say so, but they do receive a little token from us as a management. Because again, funding is also an issue, and we do look out for them. Your own Topatani, one of our best, benefited the other day from a laptop, and Her Excellency, the former president, gave him a motorbike, to enhance his work because of the quality of work of service that he's been doing. So we do from time to time reach out, but these people need more. If they are to do more, they certainly do need more. And so perhaps during the next budgetary year, something can be done to help them. They do need training also. We intend to do some training for them, because we want to expand on that. We want to, part of our perhaps what will be our new programming will be to, maybe not, let me not divulge it so some of the other stations can steal our style, but let me leave that. But we intend to expand on our coverage of the rest of Liberia. Thank you.
To congratulate you on the consideration you have received. I would think that the Assistant Minister for Information Services is one of the very basic jobs in there, where the mouth will have to be talking all the time and will require a lot of trying to explain things that some of the time you may not know very much about. So in order for us to trust you, you will have to help look for the truth and talk about the truth. So you might want to say a little bit about that, because you are now from private radio and election time activities now to representing the Liberian state. I'd like to come to LBC, LBS, and because Mr. Rennie has been in this position for a while, been in the institution for a while, and we've confirmed him before, so probably there isn't much that we can say. We agree with the president that the president thought to give him another time. But I'd like to know when we will be able to get LBS throughout River G. Now, we worked hard for the radio to get to Sino. Now, once it got to Sino, Senator Tiaje stopped coming to meetings. You see, he's gone. But River G doesn't have it. The Deputy Director General for LBS is from River G. So the fact that he hasn't been able to get a transmitter working out there for us to hear, he's not allowed to come as often as he could to return home. So we want something to be said about how early this can be done and get throughout the country. I want to talk about the element of the public broadcasting. Getting to the elections, I think you had a great deal of challenge. Well, one section of the radio was very obvious. One section of the radio was a propaganda arm of one party or the other. And it wasn't so nice sometimes. I don't know how we're going to manage it so that this radio can remain a public broadcaster. I know there's this discussion about the appropriate legislation, but that takes me to the issue of tenure. What's your view about having tenure appointments at this station so that people don't change just at the will and pleasure of the president? If something happens and the president doesn't like what happened at the radio station, calls in the managing director or the director general, fires them. I mean, what's your take on the issue of tenure? My last comment is about the content, and you talk about it. I am wondering how can we put better use to the time that is on that radio? Quite often, there's a lot of talk, and there has to be a difference between LBS and the other radio stations. We hold you to a very high standards because taxpayers' money keep you there. So the content is important. The quality of people we recruit is very important. I mean, your people in the field are doing a wonderful job giving you information and all of that. But if people out there are going to be speaking English, then we have to teach them, we have to train them so they can speak English. Because whatever they say is what the people hear and begin to practice. So you have a challenge. You got a good British background, and so you may not be the one doing the teaching, but we have to, Then there are the facts that they report. I mean, sometimes people are not reporting the facts, and you've had situations where you have to investigate a journalist or a reporter from the field who told us a big story, things that were not true. I think we should discipline, and the discipline must be known that we have our credibility in the truth that we bring out to the public. If all the radio stations in the town say things that people don't believe, people must believe LBS, whatever comes from LBS. The quality of the programs. Now you're talking about the church programs all of the time. I mean, for God's sake, not all of the preachers are telling us something that helps promote justice, that promote peace, that promotes the type of announcements you put on the radio, adverts, and adverts that come and say they can cure everything in the world. Any kind of disease, they can cure it. I mean, why should we be promoting such a thing? Or the prayer that let people get visas? You know, I mean, why should we, can't we be circumspect so at least people can start believing us? Or we are helping to promote falsehood on our national radio for which taxes are paid. So those are challenges you have. I know you've been trying to deal with them, and you have a new team, but we need to train. We need to train people. You are doing very well. There's a great deal of those who are trying, but still there's a lot to be done.
Those are challenges we face, and you have not minced your words in trying to contact me to ensure that we address those issues. So saying them publicly here today just reinforces the fact that we have to do more. The gatekeeping process at LBS is going to be strengthened. I can assure you that. But we also too need the support because, again, the institution, and like you rightly said, because of the way it is structured by law, is permeated mainly by the politics of the day. I wouldn't want to go deep into it, but you know as well as I do. But at the end of the day, we try in our weakest way as professionals to continue to try to balance so that it doesn't become obvious as it was perhaps in the early 80s during the military regime of our country. But suffice to say that, you know, we want to bring quality people to the station. We want to attract quality people. Like many government institutions that have gone through, you know, the metamorphosis of retraining and retrenching people and bringing on new blood, new professionals, LBS has not had that opportunity since the war. So what we have there is what we have to deal with. We still have people there from as far back as the 70s. We're in a digital age. So we're trying to train as we try to you know, turn a leaf. I was just telling my deputy for administration prior to our coming here that left with me, we would perhaps, you know, do a whole retrenchment of the current core and do a rehiring, recruitment, sort of trying to bring in new blood and new dynamism. But it's not possible under the circumstances because it requires funding, it requires political will to do so. But there's another way to do it. As more and more young people graduate and come in and show a great deal of dynamism, willing to learn and show professionalism, we can bring them in, you know, to turn the leaf gradually. Gradually, we're going to get there. It's going to get better. When I was, prior to my coming there 7 years ago, EFBC was not sounding like how it's sounding today. And that is a fact. It was not sounding like it's sounding today. So it will take some time because we don't have the kind of funding to do the radical things we want to do immediately because it does require that. But in time, we will do that. You know, so I just beg for some patience. With respect to covering dead zones, I made mention of NIMBA also, and you talk about your own county, River G. The thing to do in the immediate will not be to set up a substation, but we can find a way, perhaps the technical people know best, because we've done that, I think, for Radio Saniquili, where we install a small gadget. Once we can get feed signaling from anywhere in River G, or perhaps at a community radio station, a well-known community radio in River G that picks up our signal, we can install a device there that they can use to rebroadcast our signal pending funding. It's something we can work on. Or perhaps we can get funding in a budget to improve upon the facilities, putting a 2 or 3 kilowatt transmitter in gradually that will be able to, then the signal goes directly to River G. Because FM signals, they go straight line. And once they meet an obstacle, that's where they stop. Unlike shortwave that will bounce over, if there's a mountain or hill, it bounces over. FM signal will not go beyond that barrier. So the topography of the area has to suit the quality of, the strength of the signal coming to the area. So there's something we can look at. Don't drag me into specific. I beg your indulgence, not to make a commitment here and then I falter on it. then it becomes an Achilles heel. So please, I beg on that. On the public broadcasting and tenure issue, again, it's a tricky one because I'm a political appointee. What I say here could put me in trouble. But obviously, if one were to look at models around the world, whether it's the SABC, that's South African Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC, that is well known, but the Ghanaian model works well, and we should talk about is the issue of tenure. The Director General and Corps of Officers that work at the Ghana Broadcasting Station are tenure people, and they are recruited and monitored by a separate independent board of commissioners who oversee the work of the Director General and his administrators at GBC. So they cannot just be moved because of political disagreement with the establishment. So it's something that perhaps we can think about here. I'm just thinking aloud. I'm not pushing for that. So let the record be clear that there doesn't have more independence. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's something that you people, because I just brought to the chairman's attention that LBS still operates under a decree 20, in this day and age. So it means the law has to be changed and reformed. Under the law establishing LBS Decree 20, it makes room for only one deputy for broadcasting. All other deputies are at the discretion of the presidential appointment done through, I understand, the new executive law. So all of these kinds of things have to be looked at, and perhaps the legislation can deal with that to provide for the kinds of safeguards you want and the kinds of independence that is needed to ensure that will guide against what you spoke about during political and electioneering seasons. So I hope I answered your question. Thank you, sir.
Actually, kind of a tricky question. Maybe, sorry to say something about. We definitely say the truth, and that's a commitment we can take on record. We inform the people, our people in this country. Anytime something happens and the white people need to know, we definitely say the truth. And again, I'm teaming up today at this confirmation hearing with the Director General of our Liberal Broadcasting System. So from his end, we want to inform you that we do everything possible to inform our people in the best way possible, not to manipulate the population.
Okay, thank you, Polly, for your question concerning intervention. Thank you to the witnesses. There are a few questions from the public that I will read out. But I'm concerned, Mr. Director General Designate, there's a need for us to work together to ensure that we either do an act, amend what is existing from degree to an act that will modernize not only the infrastructure but your own organic structure that will help you to move forward. So I think it's something we can work on. I'm concerned about how we double check some of the stories from the field, particularly sometimes information from this capital, from the chief of the Senate, sometimes are listed. And I will say A and somebody says and the copy say B. And sometimes it might not it might not sound bad as you think, but sometimes if you misquote information from people, it has its own way of getting out there. So I think it would be good to double check some of the story, not only from here, but from other places, to ensure that whatever is being said, if you want to double check, it's possible to call a senator or whoever and double check what they said and how they said it and so forth. I think it's something we can do. I have one question, that is, what is your projected income for the year? I understand you're doing commercial and other things. We want to know. Citizens, there was a program where annually LBI used to have either the Daddy Rally or some citizen support, a kind of mobilization. And I think it's something that we need to encourage in the new Popo leadership. We can also launch these kind of activities so that citizens get involved. This time not only in Monrovia, if it is possible, outside of Monrovia with the help of county authority, senators, representatives, how do we go in the county and launch this mobilization strategy to help us to get some things going. The need to improve the station cannot be overemphasized. I want senator who always felt different to go to ELBC, to sit in the studio, to grant interview. I remember I was there one time and talked about challenging the former government that if they didn't achieve any legacy, the airport, the Rawa International Airport and ELBC will have been the best legacy. Thank God that through some funding, you, then Director General, did a very good job. I think you need to be commended. I think the president, former president, did that. I think it is a very good initiative. We're looking forward to working with you, if confirmed, so that we can do more. The foreign mission, I travel in a couple of places. You should be having press attaché in the foreign missions. And I get there, and how do you get feedback from your press attaché that are in the diplomatic mission? That's a question I want you to answer. Because I have been in couple of MSA and foreign mission, and I just see the guys not reporting, not getting by. Even senators, major conferences are held in those countries, donor meetings and nothing. So how do they work? Who monitor them? He said, that question goes to actually information, not you, Director. It goes to the assistant information. Maybe when your boss comes for confirmation, I'll repeat this question because many times I just see them there as ordinary staff and not giving information back. So far, these are my concern, and then I will read the question, and then we close. So if you take note after this question, if you have any answer, you give it, and then we close. Question number 1. Somebody is concerned that the Liberian broadcasting system belongs to Liberia and Liberian. At a large, from the different indication, from this background, this says political, from diverse background. So political, social, and religious. If true, you're talking to the Director General Designate. Then what is it that during our political season, your station only focus on the activities of the ruling party? Then that's one question. The second question has to do with to ensure a balanced view at ELBC void of political influence. Where do you stand on making LBS a public broadcaster? They want you to do away with politics. Honorable, this again to the to the Director Designate. What will you consider as your most urgent or critical priority at the Liberia broadcasting system? We always ask simple questions. I think they're ready for you. How do you really understand? This one go to, I think, the Minister Designate. How do you really understand the working and mandate between the Liberia News Agency, that of the Ministry of Information? They want to know whether you understand the working of NICA. What kind of new idea do you bring to improve continuous sorry. This question says, please, what will be your position on ghost name on payroll? I think go to the two of you. If you know about if you heard about any ghost name on payroll, what would be your position on it? This last one.
How do you read it? Mr. Minister Designate, what kind of new ideas do you bring to improve culture?
Okay. So, culture. So these are the concerns you address there, and then we conclude. The Assistant Minister saying your question that too many asked.
Somebody asked another question. They want to know my understanding about the relationship between NICA and Liberia News Agency. Yes. The Ministry of Information, Culture, Affairs and Tourism was created under TP 46.
People Leadership Council to the repealing of the new executive law, Chapter 31. And on that agreement or arrangement, the division or the Bureau of Public Affairs and the Revenue Agency, two separate institutions with intertwined responsibilities. And so what I can tell you clearly here is that the Bureau of Public Affairs is that a twin partner to LINA. So both teams work together intertwined. So the relationship is, they both work together at parallel institutions. Yeah.
Thank you. The issue of grocery, I'm not sure whether I'm in any position to comment on it, because I think government has addressed that through the electronic payment system of people appearing at the banks and taking their respective salaries. SOPs as we are, we do the same also. So it's not something that, it's just not called for. So if anybody's doing it, they should stop, obviously. Most budget and critical needs, I think I addressed that when speaking about addressing Senator Timber's concerns. Public service, I talked about it when Senator Reese spoke with me about it also. Political balance, we also talked about it already, and some of the ways to deal with it will be to change the laws creating LBS and that sort of thing. So I won't want to waste your time again to lecture on that. You asked me about the projected income. You know as well as I do, in July we were here to try to make a case for the budget. Unfortunately, it was reduced by 48% in an election year, so as I speak. We've gone 6 months down the line. To date, we have not taken pay for January. So but the projected budget that we set at the time for the system, that's the combined budget of the one that the government gives us and the one we expect to raise through commercial and our partnerships with our international partners. It comes up to $2.1 million. Sometimes we do raise a lot of money, no doubt about it. But that funding, and let me say today for the public record, the government of Liberia pays LBS Liberian dollar salary. The allowances are borne by the corporation itself, the system itself. That means every month we have to raise at least $50,000 US to be able to meet up with the allowances of the employees. Our business people do well. Our partnerships from various agreements we have, whether it's BBC, CNN, and CCTV, Radio France International, all these people. Every month we get from the Chinese $24,000. So it means we have to raise an extra $25,000. So you see the challenge that I have, and we now have as a team to ensure that when I went to EABC, I didn't have all this grade. But I now have a grade. So it tells you what we're going through. But we try to do the best we can. And that is why I can only but beg your indulgence this time around. Sometimes we're not asking for, $1 trillion or $1 billion. We're asking for something minimal. If the government can just only meet up with its obligation of paying for the operational cost of the entity, the monies that we get from these partnerships and commercials, we can use it to improve on content, for example. And training, we can do more training, we can improve on content. We got television running. But since I've been ELBS from 2010, I've never seen anything in the budget to support television, national television station. Nothing in the budget. But we want to see the television do well. I was coming here, one of our senior brothers in the media said to me, I need to speak with you concerning television, and he went on and I said, look, big brother, I hear your concerns, and I shared them. For $5, can cook cabbage. Not possible. So when we get you $5, eat as much as I want to eat cabbage. I got a £5 soup, just so the children can eat and go to bed without being hungry. On that note, let me thank you, honorable members of this August committee, for your support to our work and your congratulatory messages. We thank you. We look forward to working with you to make better the national broadcast of Liberia. I can assure you of my unflinching support and cooperation. Do feel free to call on us for anything you have, any concerns, any issues, because we know you're in the interest of bettering Liberia. So let me thank you on behalf of the management team, and let me take this opportunity to introduce them. Mrs. Estelle Liberty Cameron, she is the Deputy Director General for Administration. Madam T.T. Jibu, she is the Deputy Director General for Broadcasting. And the Honorable Wellman J.V. Bwanga is the Deputy Director General for Rural Broadcasting. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you to the witnesses. Our work is to ensure that we hear from you and then leaving committee room, inform the plenary of the Grand Senate of our opinion, and we are appointing authority. After the Senate take decision, will be informed duly through the appointing authority. Having said that, we now want to say thank you to our colleagues here and call the Sani Aham to discharge the witnesses, and in due course, you will hear from us. Thank you.
In charge, the chairperson and members of the Senate Committee on Information and Broadcast. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.